Hey guys! I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. I'm so grateful that you guys are listening, subscribing, and commenting on my channel. I really appreciate the support. In this video, I want to speak to you guys a little bit about empathy. And I've spoken about empathy before, obviously, and how all INFJs are empaths, even though all empaths are not INFJs. It's like mutually exclusive, right? So I think that's the right term for it. You know how you sometimes use words for the longest time and you think you're using the right way, and then you actually check the dictionary and you're like, oh my god, I've been using it wrong my entire life. I should check this word as well. Anyways, so empathy. Recently, I think I've shared the story with you guys, but recently I went to this sound bath healing workshop. And these kind of workshops are really common in Chiang Mai. This is one of the reasons why I love living here, is because I would never have heard about these kind of workshops if I was in Toronto, or I would never be actually perhaps even be able to afford them on all the different expenses that I had in Toronto. It's an expensive city to live in. But over here I have a little bit more disposable income because it's cheaper to live here. Therefore I can take advantage of all these interesting workshops, all these healing modalities that I would never be able to do before. And one of them that I took advantage of was the gong bath. So basically it's this huge gong, and it's literally like a big metal gong. And the lady who's playing the gong, playing the gong, I'm guessing is the right word to say. She was in front and she was doing whatever she's doing with it. And we were all laying down on the ground with our heads facing toward the gong and just letting ourselves feel the vibrations of this gong kind of integrate into our soul and into our own vibrations. So it basically helps heal through sound, and healing through sound is becoming extremely popular right now, at least in Chiang Mai, but I'm guessing in the world as well. I'm reading a lot about it. It's fascinating stuff, as you can imagine. But I went to the gong bath, and then afterwards a couple of friends of mine asked me to go out who were in the gong bath with me, asked me to go out for dinner with them. And I love these girls, they're amazing people. And then they were like, can we invite an extra person who was also in the gong bath with us? And I was like, yeah, of course, obviously. I'm not a dictator here. And so we grabbed a Grab. Basically, Grab is one of those Uber-style apps that we can use in Thailand, in Asia. And so we grabbed a Grab and we grabbed a taxi and we went over to a restaurant. But as soon as I sat down in the taxi, and it has nothing to do with the ladies in the taxi with me, I'm guessing. Perhaps they were going through some healing, perhaps something twisted in their energy systems, perhaps something twisted in my energy system, or my vibration was kind of twisted, or some kind of healing was going on. Because as soon as I sat down in the taxi with them, instantaneously I started feeling nauseous. I felt physically sick. I felt nauseous to my stomach. I felt like I was going to puke, and I hadn't had really anything to eat all day since breakfast, and this was around 6 or 7 p.m. Yeah, around 6 or 7 p.m. So basically, there was really nothing in my stomach that I should be puking out. It wasn't like food poisoning or anything, I don't imagine. But all of a sudden, I just started feeling so sick. I was so sick, and the Grab ride was maybe 10 minutes. Maybe 10 minutes. And in that entire time, I was thinking to myself, what excuse can I make so I can get out of here? What excuse can I make so I can get out of here? Because I didn't want to hurt them, because they were excited about having dinner with me, and they were leaving Chiang Mai soon. And also, I didn't want to do it in a rude way where they felt like I was kind of running away from them. I don't like that kind of stuff. But the more I sat around their conversation, I could not even include myself into the conversation, because I was literally like, if I open my mouth, I'm going to just puke all over them. And so as soon as we got out of the Grab, I felt a little bit better, because I wasn't in a confined space in that situation. And then we sat down on the table again, and instantaneously again, because we're in close proximity again, I started feeling that vibration again, that sickness, that physical nausea. So obviously instantaneously I was like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. I feel really sick all of a sudden. I feel like the gong bath was a little bit more intense for me than I realized, and so I'm gonna have to go back home. I apologize. And so I did it that way, I just said the truth, which was basically the gong bath had really affected me. And then as soon as I left the vicinity of that restaurant and the vicinity of those girls, nothing to do with them, I'm not blaming them, I'm not saying they're terrible people, it's just energy, right? As soon as I left the vicinity of that group and I started walking away from them, instantaneous relief. I felt so much better. I felt as if I was back to normal again. And then, I had a meal on my own by myself, and I just relaxed, and I was feeling perfectly fine. And I just wondered to myself what happened. Now, of course, the more I analyzed it, the more I realized it had to do with empathy and the fact that INFJs, and there are a lot of empaths out there, but I'm specifically speaking obviously to INFJs because this is an INFJ channel mostly. And so INFJs are empaths. And what does empathy mean? Empathy is basically that you feel what other people feel. And that's the basic essence of it. So if someone around you is feeling pain, you're going to start feeling pain. If someone around you is feeling nauseous, you're going to start feeling nauseous. That's why I don't like being around people who are puking, because I myself will start feeling like, oh God, I got to puke as well. It's an instantaneous attachment or connection to that individual, to that human being, or any being really, any sentient being around us. We feel their emotions and their feelings. That's why if an animal around me is even hurt, I start feeling pain in my body, and I start feeling extreme pain in my heart, and I start feeling sad and almost crying, right? I know how to control it now, but I remember when I was a child, I remember this incident when there were a couple of kittens who were dying by the side of the street because someone had run over them or something. And I was literally standing there and I saw them die. I knew they were dying. I knew that they were dying. No one else was looking at them. No one else cared. It was a very poor part of the country. I was living in Yemen at the time. And I understood that, it's the world that we live in. Some people, some beings are taken care of, some are not. Even at that point when I was, I think, maybe 8 or 9, I understood that point. But I stood there and I knew that these kittens were dying, and I felt extreme pain in my heart. I literally felt like I was going to be ripped apart by that pain. My mom had to drag me away, and when I went back home and in the privacy of my bathroom in my room, I was able to cry. But I knew that at that point, from the beginning of my life, I knew that I was an empath. I didn't know exactly what the term for it was, but I knew that a lot of times when there would be sadness around me, or there'd be any kind of emotion around me, I would feel that emotion inside of me as well. As if I was that person, as if I was that individual who was feeling that pain. It's not like I'm feeling it as an outsider or an observer. It is as if I have mingled my consciousness with that individual or that being who's feeling that pain, and I am that person now. It's as if we are one being, and I am kind of tapping into their consciousness and into their pain or into their emotion. Now, of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be all about negative emotions. It also encompasses positive emotions. So if you are around people who are really ecstatically happy and they're exuberant and they're loving life, instantaneously you will start feeling their positive emotions as well. Now, that's one of the reasons why I love hanging out with extroverts, because if you are around an extrovert and they're excited to be out and they're having fun, they're enjoying life, they're enjoying being the life of the party, you will, as an empath, if you're an empath, you will start getting that transmission of that emotion, and you'll start feeling that positive joy and aliveness and just happiness in general, right? That's one of the reasons why I love partying with extroverts, because it's just a lot of fun. They just are so excited to be out and about that they transmit that feeling to you. And as an empath, I get all of it. I receive all of it, and then I use it in order to be the person that I am, right? Now, the reason why I really wanted to do a specific video on empathy is because a couple of people have asked me, how as a person can you get all of these emotions from other people? How are you actually receiving it? Like, what is it? How can you receive an emotion like that? It doesn't make any sense to them, because they're thinking of emotions as, obviously emotions are obviously chemical reactions in the body, right? If you think of it as an intellectual, if you think of it from the biology perspective or physiological perspective, it is just chemical reactions in the body. That's very simple. How can you transmit a chemical reaction from one person to another? Because emotions are not just chemical reactions. That's just the surface of it. That's just, the basic essence of it. But emotions and feelings are also related to our heart chakra, or our heart field. And if you guys know anything about the heart field, you would know that the heart field, the magnetic field that is around our heart, is more powerful than a lot of magnetic fields out there, right? It encompasses a huge area around you. So if I'm standing here, my heart field is actually going around me and encompassing a huge area around me, even bigger than this apartment. And actually, scientists don't know how far our heart fields can go. That's the reason people can do astral travel. That's the reason we can, travel off into space with our souls and still have our bodies here, because it's our heart that is doing all that work. Now, there's a lot of theories behind this stuff. I'm not going to go deep into it, but because our heart field is so powerful and so magnanimous, it's so huge, like it occupies so much space, and a lot of our emotions are gathered in our heart. Right? A lot of times you'll feel pain in your heart. If you feel joy, you feel it in your heart. Of course, you feel it intellectually. You can think to yourself, oh, I'm feeling happy right now. But a lot of that concentration of emotion is going to be here. It's going to be in this space around your heart. I hope you can see here. Around your chest, right? Around your heart. Around your heart chakra, if you believe or know about chakras. And so all of your energy is concentrated here, and as your magnetic field around your heart is so powerful and so diverse, it kind of occupies so much space, when you feel any emotion, you're basically transmitting that emotion like a satellite or like a transmission tower, like a radio tower. Basically, every human being, every being who has any kind of emotions is like a radio tower. And so you're transmitting all these emotions like blinking, transmission, right? And so people around you feel that emotion if they're an empath. Now, you don't necessarily have to be an empath to feel strong emotions. Sometimes the emotions are so powerful and so strong you can feel it even without being a complete empath. Like, I mean, you're walking past someone, perhaps you're walking past a couple, and they're literally fighting physically. I mean, like, they're angry at each other, they're fighting, they're clawing at each other, they're fighting physically. And that emotion, you can feel it. You don't need to be an empath to know and feel that they're angry at each other and they want to kill each other, right? Thankfully, it doesn't happen a lot in Thailand because they're very quiet. But I do know that Thailand has one of the highest rates of domestic violence, which means they're hiding and doing it in their homes. And that's why you can sometimes feel the energy of someone and you're like, there's something off about them. And that's because something has happened with them in the past that, of course, they're holding on to in their hearts, right? Now, it doesn't have to be a current emotion that you might be displaying to the world or that you might be receiving from a person. If this individual that's around you and you're feeling a lot of negative emotion from them or positive emotion, perhaps something happened in their childhood. Perhaps they were the victim of sexual assault or they were a victim of parental abuse. Who knows what people have been through, right, in their life. But you're standing there as an empath and you feel something from them, and it could be something. They're happy now and they're completely well-adjusted, balanced individuals now, but something happened in their childhood and your heart holds on to everything. Your heart holds on to every emotion that you've had and every feeling that you've had. And not only that, it holds on to emotions and feelings from your ancestors and from the earth and from other beings. So your heart is holding on to a lot of stuff, and all of that stuff is being transmitted from you by like a radio tower. And as an empath, as an INFJ empath, you will be achieving or receiving actually all of these transmissions. Right? And so that's one of the reasons that I tell you guys always to be careful, because sometimes your emotions, the emotions you're feeling, are not actually yours. Sometimes all of a sudden you start feeling sad and you think to yourself, why am I feeling sad? I was feeling happy and everything is fine. There's nothing to feel sad about. It might be that you're releasing something, obviously. It could be that you're releasing past emotion. Perhaps you did a session of healing and you're releasing something. But a lot of times I am really careful about emotions that pop out of nowhere, because if I analyze it a little bit, I realize that it is the emotion that I caught onto of an individual around me, right? I might be in a cafe and I'm just kind of going about my business, doing my work, and all of a sudden I hear someone weeping or sobbing, next to me. And I realized that was the reason I was feeling sad. It was because they're sad, and all of a sudden I realized as they start crying that they're sad. And that's what I was picking up on. It wasn't actually my sadness, but just theirs, right? And so I always implore you guys to be very cognizant of your emotions and to pay attention to them, right? A lot of times, because we're an empath, the emotions that we're feeling are not our own. And so it doesn't mean that we shouldn't feel them, obviously. We are here for a reason. We're here to be an empath for a reason. Maybe I'll do a video on that, what I think the reason for that is. But there's a reason for it. You're feeling that emotion for a reason. But to realize that it's not your emotion and someone else's is extremely important. Again, this video is already so long. I love talking about this stuff, as you can tell. If you guys have any questions about this topic, about emotions or empathy in general, please let me know. You can comment below, or obviously you can email me. My contact information is in the description below. And thank you so much for watching. I shall see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.